Welcome back. In this video, we're going to take a look at the various functions of profile listing pages. So as we've discussed in the earlier videos, a profile listing page, if it's in a directory in the profiles directory, is the index page. And it would be the equivalent of a landing page in a regular Omni CMS directory. And effectively, it does the same thing, serves as the home page, so to speak, for it. But it does have its own functions. So let's take a look here. I'm in the Media Resources Center profiles directory, and I've got the page open in a live version over here. And we're going to take a look at the options that are available on a listing page. I'm going to go ahead and click index and go in. So the first thing to note here in Backstage view of this is that we've got a teaser content section and a main content section. These are the equivalent of the same sections on a regular Omni CMS directories landing page, or any landing page in the system for that matter. You could put whatever you wanted here for teaser content and main content. They're just open fields, as we can see here. You could put whatever in there, just like you would a regular page. Next up, we have the Add Extra Profiles option. So when we look at the listing page here live, we have, of course, the Media Resources Center profile for John, who's directly in that folder. And we've got the other department directories that it's cascading up to add in here. Now, we might have someone that we need to add to the page that isn't necessarily in the media resources directories at all. This happens a lot with teams that are assembled for various projects, various initiatives in the university. You might have somebody pulled from a completely different department to be on a team. The first impulse people will usually have is to duplicate their profile and put it wherever they want. We actually recommend not duplicating profiles. It can cause issues in the system. Instead, what you could do is you could use add extra profiles to simply link to that person's profile. So for example, here, I might want to add someone extra here to the Media Resources Center profiles. Maybe I would want to add, say, Carolyn Shaw. So I'm going to go find Carolyn's profile. A lot of people, if they have a profile, you can find it directly through the search engine. There's Dr. Shaw right there. Okay. So maybe we want to add her profile as an extra in here. We can totally do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click the Add Extras profile or Add Extra Profiles. Okay. And you'll see that we have a table here. What we do is add each person to the table that we would want to add. In this case, it's Dr. Shaw. So I'm going to type Dr. Carolyn Shaw, like so. And then I'm going to see where she is in the directory. Academics, Fairmount, political science. Okay. So I'm just going to highlight it. And just like I would for any other insert edit link type thing, click the insert edit link button. And I'm going to send it to the system to find her. Profiles. We can go back to profiles, academics, and then Fairmount College, political science, and there's her page. I'll insert that, and it gives me the select product. It's okay. Just click insert link. I'm going to save it. Save. I'm going to go ahead and publish the page here. Added sample profile. And we can see that Carolyn has been added to the Media Resources Center edition to be side by side with John here. So that's really all it would take. Note that it says Dr. Carolyn Shaw will be added in on production. You can add any number of people that you would want in this way. By default, it has 7 rows. You can add and remove if you need to add more people. Select the table like so, right click, row, insert row after, so on and so forth. Or you could delete rows depending on what you want to do here. Having these rows obviously is not affecting the page in any way. And that's how the insert extra profiles would work on a page. Now that we've looked at the add extra profiles functionality here, it's time to look in on the organizational tools that we have for arrangement of these profile listing pages. So I'm going to check the page back out, and I'm going to go over on the properties tab. Some of this will be familiar, of course. Title and metadata is exactly the same way as another page. Media Resources Center is the title. We could add description, keywords, and tags if we wanted. We've got our page heading, and we've got our option for navigation, which turns on or off the section menu for the page at the top. Now we start getting into the listing page options here. First of all, we've got directory. It has target. Select a file in the folder to use as a starting point for the page to start reading profiles. Leave blank to target this directory. What this basically does is it allows you the option to set a specific directory here that it will pull the profiles from, and only that directory. So if I set it for this directory, for example, it would pull all the profiles and all the connecting profiles from the directory. Of course, that would be redundant in this case, but this can be useful if you're creating a listing page outside of the profiles directory. And I'll demonstrate that in another video. We have Waterfall. Waterfall is basically the function that allows it to look into the connected directories within the directory and pull profiles from it. So with Waterfall on as yes here, what it does is the Media Resources Center has one profile in it, and that's John Jones. But with it on yes, it's looking also into all the folders for the teams that are underneath Media Resources Center, web services, and so on and so forth. And it decides to pull those back into their own groupings on the page. If we set this to no, and we save and publish the page, say shut off Waterfall for demo. We can see that all we have here is John. By shutting off the waterfall, we effectively shut off its searching for the other directories within the Media Resources Center directory. So if you have something where you're only wanting to show the profiles from that one specific group without it looking further in and pulling the other groups in, turning the waterfall off will allow for that. So let's go back in, and I'm going to turn the waterfall back on because we're going to need it after a bit. Waterfall, save, I'll publish. After the waterfall, we have display type, options, list, or display. So by default, this page is set to display. The way that the profiles are arranged on the page is display. Display basically means that all of the profiles are shown with the 300 by 400 image, some information underneath, and in this grouping like this. And what that allows us to do is switch it to a list instead. A list will sort of minimize the amount of space that the profiles take in comparison. So if I come over here, I want to switch this to list, like so, save, and I'll go ahead and publish it. Switched to list display. for demo. Here we see that it has changed to the list option, and we can see that it gives the information in a line with a very small sort of thumbnail of the image that the person supplied. And we've got the same department or team headings as we did. It's just a more compact version of doing the same thing. There may be situations where you switch to the list option and the page loads very, very slowly for whatever reason. This would happen on listing pages that have a lot of people on them or are very complex in nature. In that sort of situation, we would recommend that you turn the images off. So if we come in here, and you'll see that there's a section display options further down. What this does is it will provide the information that is selected with the check mark in the sort of profile summary for each person. In this case, we want to turn the images off so as to not overwhelm the bandwidth. I'll just unselect image, save, publish, turn the images off for demo. We can see that the images have been shut off. So what we have here is department or team title, and we just have the name. The name is a link to the individual profile page, like so. We have the other information provided here. We've just shut off the images so that the page will load quicker. So let's go back over here. And we're going to switch it back to display. And I'm going to come down to section display options and turn images back on and republish it so it returns to normal. It is always good to keep a version description going on your pages so you know what's changed and what hasn't. And check the page back out. And we're going to go down a little bit further. We have page sort. This is how the profiles are arranged on the page. For example, it's set by group right now. You may not want the profiles set to grouping. Grouping is basically what's doing it so it appears with a heading for each team or department, so to speak. You may not want that. You may simply want all of the profiles in there listed alphabetically or with a manual sort. If I, for example, choose alphabetical, and I click save here and publish, set to alphabetical source or sort. We can see that now it's arranging by letter. So we've got B, C, D, F, G. These are all links that will take you to that specific letter, everybody that is considered under it. It alphabetizes by last name. Here's B, it's Jesse here. C is Jay and Ryan, and so on and so forth. No team designations whatsoever. Everyone is organized alphabetically by the first letter of their last name. So that's an option. And let's go ahead and set this back to its normal view again. I'm going to set it to group, save and publish. Now, we have an option in here in page sort for manual sort. Manual sort actually provides a snippet on the page that can be manually manipulated to present the profiles in a specific order. We're going to talk about manual sort in another video. So we're going to go ahead and skip it for now, but we'll come back to it later. Name display changes the way the name is displayed in the profiles. You can have the full name. In this case, it gives an example of Dr. John Adam Doe Jr. or by last name first, Doe, comma, John Adam Jr. So I can turn that on. I'll save it and publish it. Change name order for demo. And we can see now that it's showing Jones, comma, John P, Castor J, Downs Tessa, so on and so forth like that. Departments have returned, of course. It's just simply just changed how the names themselves are displayed. And we'll go ahead and undo that. Switch it back to full name. Republish it. Next up, we have the section display options. I touched on this a little bit ago when I did image, when I shut the image off. You'll notice that there are a lot of options in here. And what happens is you can turn these on or off to have them display in the encapsulated information that occurs under the image. So for example, I might want to add or remove, let's remove something, we can see it change, email and phone. So we see we've got John's email address and phone number here. Maybe he doesn't want those openly available on the web. I can take off email and phone, save it. Change display options for demo. We can see now we've got John's name and his position, but the email address and the phone number have disappeared. And that will cascade down through all of the teams, as we can see here. And we'll turn that back on. But note how many options there are here. There's a lot of flexibility here for you to add and remove various options for your team members. Go ahead and save and publish this. We added email address and phone number. And we'll go back into properties again. Finally, here we have HTML or plain text. So we have HTML display and all of the items are checked. And if we look at the items, they correspond to all of the items that occur on a personal profile page on the right side, the overview and all of the accordions going down. So what this is, it shows if selected in display options, display selected sections as HTML, unselected, they display as plain text. So sometimes people will maybe copy paste HTML code into sections of their page for whatever reason. They might be displaying a graphic, they might have a specific format type they want to use, something like that. And if these items are checked, it will go ahead and display them as the HTML code sort of requires it to do. Now, this could be problematic in some aspect. For example, you might have something that is, say, against WSU or a department's brand standards or brand look. It may break a page, it may cause other issues, may cause accessibility issues, so on and so forth. In those cases, you can actually uncheck these boxes and it will shut off the HTML capability and reduce that item to plain text. Now, there is one caveat to this. That is, if you uncheck items in here for the listing page, that's not just going to affect one person's page. It's going to affect all of the personal profile pages that are pulled back in the system, so to speak. So everyone is going to have their HTML capabilities shut off in those sections. It's not just going to be one person. So that's something to keep in mind.